Hey guys, so this video is going to cover a couple of immune disorders and ones that we're going to specifically use or refer to in our exam as well. So our learning intention is to understand the difference between an immunodeficiency and autoimmune disorder. And we're going to use HIV and multiple sclerosis as examples of each type of disorder. That's actually listed in the study design that they're the ones we need to refer to as well. So expect some questions on either of these two disorders in your exam. So what are they? So immune disorders occur when our immune system fails to recognize body cells as self and begins targeting them. So when we talked about that self and non-self, for some reason in autoimmune disorders, our self ones are just identified as foreign and we start to attack them. And you can see that in this diagram here. You can see that these immune system cells are asking to attack and our self cell is sort of going, well, wait a minute, I'm actually one of you guys, and still our immune system will attack them. An immunodeficiency is when the immune system is compromised or entirely absent. So it means it's not working as effective, and that can open up our body to be attacked by a wide range of pathogens because our immune system is not that effective. And it can lead to, I guess, really, really bad cases and can be fatal as well. We'll go through some examples of each of these disorders, but basically autoimmune is attacking self, and immunodeficiency, and we use that term deficient, means it's just an immune system that's not working 100%. So multiple sclerosis, this is the example that we need to know of, is an example of an autoimmune disorder. So that's where our cells are recognizing our self cells as non-self and is attacking them. Now in multiple sclerosis, it's a very specific section of cells. So our nerve cells are covered with this coating called the myelin sheath. And for some reason, our immune system identifies them as foreign and starts to target them. And this actually causes the nerve cells to eventually start breaking down, and it starts impacting on people's movement and their ability to control via their nervous system. So here you can see this is a representation of a nerve cell, and they look somewhat like this. And the long connection here is covered with a coating, almost like an insulation, and it helps speed up nerve signals. And you can see that our immune system cells are attacking it. In terms of what it looks like in a bit more scientific, here on the right is a healthy nerve cell, and you can see this blue coating is known as the myelin sheath, and it sort of shows here how it covers all these different sections. So those of you who are doing psychology, you probably would have covered this when you looked at the nerves, but you can see that when that starts to degrade and gets attacked, it starts to break down and it affects that nerve from being able to function effectively. And so we get the process of multiple sclerosis occurring, and eventually we lose nervous control until a point where it can become fatal and we lose control of things like the muscles that control our breathing and that sort of stuff as well. So multiple sclerosis is an example of autoimmune. We need to be familiar with which cells it attacks. And so it's nerve cells, and what particularly it attacks is the myelin sheath, and that causes things like loss of movement and nervous control. An example of an immunodeficiency is HIV, and it's one we've probably all heard of before. Now, HIV actually stands for human immunodeficiency virus. So there's a key to remember. An example, the I in HIV is for immunodeficiency, and it's an immunodeficiency disorder. And it's a virus that particularly targets T helper cells. And we know T helper cells are really, really important because they go and actually help the rest of the cells and activate B cells and T cells. So the way HIV works is it binds to the T helper cell, and you can see that in the video here, and it will inject its genetic material into the cell, and then it goes through a process of reverse transcription where that RNA is converted into DNA, and then that DNA is used to make more copies of the virus itself. So it takes over the cell's systems and starts using it to make copies and make more viruses, and eventually that spreads. Now, the impact of that is that eventually these T helper cells begin to die. And so by losing those T helper cells, we have what's called a compromised immune system, which means it doesn't work that well. And so HIV then can lead to what's called AIDS. And you might have heard of AIDS as well. But again, it just means that our immune system is not working effectively because this virus is specifically targeting an immune system cell. So AIDS, people get a little bit confused between HIV and AIDS. So HIV is the virus that may eventually lead to AIDS. And AIDS is an acquired immune deficiency syndrome. And so AIDS occurs when some other disease, such as let's say the common flu, is able to take hold because we've got HIV. So the T helper cells don't work, and therefore something like the common flu, which normally can be dealt with, is taken over, and that then obviously can cause a fatal death, and that's where you would die of AIDS. So we all know a famous case, someone with HIV was Freddie Mercury. Now, he had HIV, so he had the virus, but he actually died of pneumonia because his immune system was lowered. And so we would say that he died of HIV AIDS, but it was HIV that caused that pneumonia to take control of his body, but it was actually the pneumonia that killed him. And so that sort of clears up the difference between the two. So if you're a little bit confused, HIV is what you start with, and it eventually will lead to AIDS, and another disease will then probably cause death because of HIV. So in review, autoimmune disorders result in cells being targeted, and we'll use multiple sclerosis as an example of that. Immunodeficiency is where our immune system is weakened or compromised, and HIV is the example. What we need to know for the exam is how both of those work. So we need to know that HIV is a virus and it takes over the cell systems, and multiple sclerosis, we need to know that that's the specific part of the nerve cell known as the myelin sheath. So I hope this video helped you guys. Thanks.